And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show, and this is going to be episode 422. So I hope you guys had a great day, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with Ronin Joe once again, and this is going to be his second appearance on the show. Technically, third appearance because you were on a panel show, I think like last year towards around August or September. I forgot. Oh, I remember. We were tallying up how many projects we enjoyed from the MCU.
Oh, that's right.
It was like before. It was like right after Thunderbolts came out. So yeah, the last time you were on was like it was a week like after Thunderbolts came out. Holy shit! And it was crazy. Today I had Robert Storms on, and out of 30 projects, I think he had the highest number. It was 11, and that still wasn't even half. So most people I've talked to that I did the number of how much of you've like personally enjoyed from the MCU since Phase 4, it's gonna be literally less than half, barely reaching double digits. Like I may be like this, but you also wouldn't rewatch it either. It's like
it's not rewatchable. A lot of them, I've seen quite a few of the movies, and they're not rewatchable. Hell, we can't get through most of them in the first place. Yeah, I watched the new Captain America movie that came out. What, that come out last year? Did it come out 2 years ago? Last year. And I was bored to tears. I thought the story was horrible. I thought the villain was horrible. I was telling my buddy Sean, my co-host on Ott and stuff, that I can't take Sam Wilson serious as Captain America without this. It has nothing to do with him being black or whatever, but the super serum, like it doesn't make sense. And then they have to use Wakanda technology to get past all that. It's like so much just to make it believable. The only good thing about that movie was Harrison Ford, who did a really good job. And then the Red Hulk that was in it for like 6-7 minutes at the end there. But the rest of the movie was garbage. So yeah, not rewatchable.
Yeah, it's also a movie that feels like a sequel to The Incredible Hulk with like Hulk movie cast characters, but they couldn't do that because they would have to pay Universal a pretty good amount of money.
Well, that, and I think when you cast actor like Harrison Ford and make him General Ross, you got to kind of make the story about him.
Sure. Yeah.
The character kind of got hijacked in his own movie because he brought in that star power, and like that's a good idea because nobody really wanted to see any of the other cast. I was honestly really tuning in to see what Harrison Ford was going to do because he does a really good job at most characters he's played.
And he's always talked major shit about like franchises like the MCU. Like there's many interviews of him talking massive shit about the MCU. And I'll be honest here, he put his money where his mouth is. He came in, he delivered a great performance, and he's one of the only memorable factors of that movie.
Hands down. I couldn't tell you a memorable scene in the rest of the movie, to be honest with you.
My problem with it was another thing that really bothered me is he swapped out the cool looking white suit that he has for like an uglier blue one. It's like, you know what? I will say, given all the MCU problems, that is one of the most comic accurate looking suits that's ever been put on screen. Like if you talk about like comic
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, like if you go from comic book to movie, that's one of the most accurate looking suits they've ever done. Pretty much spot on 99% correct. Then he just swaps it out for that uglier. That thing is ugly. I wouldn't fly around in that.
It's because they did the same thing with Captain America in Winter Soldier. Or after the Avengers movie, they got rid of the cheesy looking Captain America suit.
Yeah, I remember.
It was more comic book accurate, and then updated it to the more modern, kind of MCU design. So they might have just been doing that, and I don't know. You could say it probably looks better on screen. Maybe that white is hard to handle when it comes to the CGI.
I know how it is. It's hard for me to handle white people too.
I bet it is.
If you see that to a leftist person, they'll be like, "Yep, I agree. It's hard to handle that white."
Oh, those whites! Tell you what.
I will say I've never felt not safe around white people. Whenever I'm around black people, I don't know, shit's always gonna pop off there. I'm just saying though, when you with your family, you go like to like a Walmart or like a Target or whatever. Whenever you see a group of black people, even though you're in the back of your head, you're thinking something's about to pop off though. It's just always in the back of your head. The crazy white people, they're always they're not gonna do anything. I'm just saying, I've always felt that. I'm good.
I feel you. Although you can have all of our white liberal women Yeah, I don't know. I don't care what you do with them, but you take them and do something with them.
Catherine Crockett. I don't know if that's a plus for anyone actually.
Yeah, yeah, that too. That too.
But I think the major issue with Brave New World is just I don't know if I would consider it the worst MCU movie because I think there's generally worse than it. But it's one of those where,
Uh,
like you said, it's super forgettable. It's I don't know what the point of it actually is because you just look at
yeah,
it. Oh, this is just really forgettable, and I don't get what the point of this movie really was. It's literally just a sequel to another movie with another movie's villain
yeah.
and they used a cameo from I don't think Betty Ross was really there. That was some deep fake
You think
AI
that was you
stuff.
don't think that was really
I don't think she was really there. No
Liv Taylor?
way. I
Tyler?
because I've seen Fast and Furious movies do the same kind of shot and kind of sequencing to make The Rock appear there when he's not there. That's just me. She might have
Okay.
been there, but they
Interesting.
maybe they gave her a buttload of money just for 10 seconds, you know?
I
The whole like Giancarlo Esposito, like what the fuck was he doing there? Was that supposed to be some
um
ghetto version of the Winter Soldier? I don't know what that's supposed to be. I don't know what he was trying to do actually, you
yeah,
know?
maybe I have no idea. Like I watched that movie when I was sick because a lot of times when when I'm homesick and sitting laying on the couch or whatever, I got nothing better to do. I'll come
Yeah.
across an MCU movie from that phase 4 and I'm like, whatever, I'll just throw it. I haven't seen it yet. I'll just put it
Yeah.
on, I might fall asleep. And those are the times I watch those movies. So Captain America I watched when I was sick. What the hell is the name of that? Uh Not Immortals, the
Eternals.
Eternals. Thank you,
Yeah.
jeez. I watched Eternals when I was sick, same thing. Just something to do to waste the time. And I gotta say, of all the movies that came out in Phase 4, Eternals actually wasn't that bad. It was kind of boring, and I didn't care about it as far as it building up a story going forward with the characters. But the overall movie was pretty decent. It at least had a better story than uh, Brave New World, Into the Mouth of Madness. I thought was very much a letdown when I went and saw that movie, Doctor
Oh,
Strange.
Doctor Strange 2. Jeez. Another one of those movies. Like you may like it potentially when you watch it, or or you will go, it's all right. But
Yeah.
then when you really think about it, you're like, wow, that was like not good at all. Like I remember after I watched it, I was like, this is not as good as the first one. Even if you just want to
Oh,
compare it to the first one, right?
right,
The
and the
first
first
one
one was pretty good.
was
You
pretty good.
being in wait,
Yeah,
I don't know if that was the second phase of the MCU, I can't
that was in
remember,
phase
but
3. Yeah.
that was phase 3? Okay, shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that was pretty good. That it was a good standalone movie, it had a good story, good concept, good origin. Yeah, and then Into the Mouth of Madness seemed like it was years too late, because now you're just making a Doctor Strange movie to make a movie to fit it in the timeline because you need something to
Yeah.
sell. That's exactly what it felt like, and the story at the story could have been really good. The playing off of Wanda becoming, a darker character from
Right, right.
WandaVision, going
Yeah.
into the Mouth of Madness. That's why I was originally excited about it. I was like, "Oh, this could be really, really cool to see what's going on." And they fumbled that. They fumbled that a little bit. They could have made that a lot better than it was. They didn't have to bring in that Chavez chick character. Like I felt like that
Oh
was just
yeah.
a woke DEI kind of thing. Let's put it in there to represent the gay community or whatever. And it was a part of the story I didn't think made it didn't help the story. It didn't further anything along.
Yeah, if she was not there at all in the movie, it wouldn't change really anything.
Wouldn't have
Like
wouldn't have really changed
they
anything. No,
they could have definitely wrote a story where Doctor Strange could have access to the multiverse because he's
100%. Yeah,
telling
without that.
Peter in No Way Home about the multiverse anyway, so he has a general understanding of the concept anyway, unless I'm
Yeah.
misremembering it. But keep in mind, he's a sorcerer, so they would have concepts of a bunch of
Oh,
different worlds anyway. You know,
yep.
it's one of those things where you look on it now coming up with the MCU because after Thunderbolts, when you weren't here for a couple months, did you end up seeing Fantastic Four?
Yeah, I went to the theater and saw that.
Did
I
you
thought it
like
was
it?
alright. I thought it was alright. It wasn't great, but comparative to the movies that we have been getting and TV shows that we've been getting,
Right, right.
I thought it was actually pretty decent. It was good until the 3rd act. I didn't like the 3rd act. I think it lost its way. Galactus was awesome. Nailed Galactus. Thought that
Mhm.
was really, really awesome. Basically,
Yeah.
that's what I went to see it for. But there's a few things that I thought they really the movie starts out so fast, and then before you know it, we're facing Galactus and Sue's giving birth. But then we go through like this 30, maybe 40 minutes just slow down in the middle of the movie before the third act starts, and then you have this big battle, which I have a problem with. The battle could have been a lot cooler, and I didn't like the way they used some of their powers as
It could
far
have been a
as
lot more coordinated. Yeah, like
yeah, it
I
just
could
seemed it
believe.
seemed weird.
Yeah, like it's odd because if people don't actually know Sue Storm really, because there's a lot of fake touristy people around. She is
Yeah.
not a weak character,
No,
despite
she's
what
pretty
her.
strong.
Yeah, so if you know her comic book wise, power set wise, she could hold her own somewhat technically, but not by herself. You would think
No,
that
no.
because they've built themselves up in the movie as a group of people, and that was one of my big issues with the movie. It's like, okay, now you're fighting this guy at the very end. All of you need to fight him. Like they've been really cool to see
Right.
them actually tag team him and fight him, even if they weren't going to win.
Yeah,
It's
it seemed
just
like just a free for all, and for being a team, that as long as they've been around a few years or whatever,
yeah.
you would think they'd be way more coordinated, have specific attacks, utilizing each other's powers to get the most out of it, whatnot. And it kind of fell flat for me. And then I thought they really underplayed Reed Richards as far as his elasticity or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Because as
yeah.
far as I know, he can stretch for as long as he wants to stretch. I don't know. I've never heard like a specific limit. And
I just don't buy Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards.
well, that
though.
too.
Like
Yeah.
I tried so hard, but I was like, man, this is such a miscast. It's so like I just can't buy him as Reed Richards. Honestly, because in their universe, how can Reed Richards look like John Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness, but he doesn't look like
Right.
John Krasinski in this movie? This is the same universe, and the multiverse variants look. You would think they look the same.
You
but
would
I guess
think
in,
so, but
I
I
guess
feel
in
like
Loki they don't.
yeah, I was
Right?
gonna say they changed it up a little bit. There are definitely some variants that look exactly alike, and then others that don't. I mean, they kind of even touched on that with the Deadpool Wolverine movie with Henry Cavill being the
You're right. Yeah.
Calverine or whatever,
Calverine. Oh God.
which was cool. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Make that man Wolverine going forward,
Mhm.
but I don't think they will.
Oh, so what about the other MCU movies coming out later this year before we go to like DC and comics and stuff?
Yeah.
Are you interested in Brand New Day?
Yes, I am.
Tom Holland movie.
Yes, I am. I'm waiting to see a trailer until I either get excited or have thoughts on it. I've been watching the social media stuff with them posting the different scenes that they were shooting in New York or whatever. And right now, I think it's cool because I feel like the story, the synopsis seems to be pretty well kept under wraps. We just know the characters that are going to be in it, and there's rumors out there of who the actual villain is going to be or all this stuff. But I've always enjoyed the Spider-Man movies. The second one, Far From Home, was not my favorite. No Way Home, I thought was excellent, and then Homecoming, I thought was really good as well. So Brand New Day, I feel like they're going to make it a good, fun action movie with some funny parts to it. And I'm excited to see a tamed down version of the Punisher, but have the Punisher in the movie. The Hulk, I want to see. So yeah, I'm excited about that one. I'll say that.
What about Avengers Doomsday? The one where basically Marvel is admitting as a movie we've kind of failed the last 5 years. So let's just get them all. Actually, they're doing the whole thing. Let's get the band back together. That's literally
Remember the last time we talked and I said that having Robert Downey Jr. coming back was a good thing because they needed the star power.
That's true.
And Marvel realized that. Now here we go. And you're bringing the old man back together, at least for once, and you're banking on that star power because they don't have any star power in the MCU to carry it themselves. Yeah. And that's exactly what they're doing with Doomsday. Now, that being said, I'm excited about Doomsday. I
am intrigued. I'm intrigued
if they do it right,
how they play it out. Yeah.
If they do it right and they do Doomsday and then Secret Wars back to back, this could be a big revival for those characters in that storyline. If they do it right, and I feel like they're going to. You got the Russo brothers back. They by far made the best MCU movies with the two Avengers movies, Infinity War, Endgame, and then Civil War was the Russo brothers. I think that's the three they did, but those are by far the best MCU movies. So I have faith in the people making the movie that it's going to be really good. I just hope that they back that up and I don't have to eat my words later when I actually see it. So fingers crossed, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it's just for me, I do want to applaud them for trying to salvage a bad situation, but but in one case, it's like you created this bad situation though for yourself. You've wasted 5 years on movies that are debatably no one's going to care about. in the grand scheme of things when you get
Yeah.
like 3
Yeah.
more
Oh, yeah. They
phases deep.
wasted 5 years in an entire,
Yeah,
100%. I agree with that.
yeah, because right
But
now we're
at
in phase
least,
6, so there's 2 phases of waste.
I thought we were still in phase 5.
No, we're in phase 6.
Phase 6?
Thunderbolts.
Oh, okay.
Thunderbolts end phase 5.
Okay. I thought that ended phase 4. All right. All right. I got you.
Because you know what's crazy, dude, is the lead up into Doomsday is just going to be the end credit scene in Thunderbolts and the end credit scene in Fantastic Four and the end credit scene in Brand New Day. That's your
Yeah.
lead up to Doomsday. It's just 3 post credit scenes, unless they're going to do 2 of them for Brand New Day, which
They
who
might,
knows? They
but
might.
honestly, I don't think that I think that's fine. I think that's good because, and then I like the fact that they're admitting a mistake and trying to do something maybe more for what the fans want. Let's get back to the formula and stuff that works. And you don't need a big build up for that. Just the fact that these characters are coming back in some capacity is enough to bring, and the fact that you're seeing Robert Downey Jr. as Doom, I think is enough to bring people back that they don't need to really have a bunch of build up like you did in the first 2 phases that they did. So I think we're ready. Let's just get into it and see where it goes. And hopefully they do a really good job with these movies. Hopefully Brand New Day works real well. And then I just heard the other day that they're talking about doing a Thor 4.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got chances right now.
It'd be a 5th Thor movie.
Oh,
Good
5th.
Lord.
Yes, the 5th.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
Because that 4th one was certainly a movie ever made.
Yeah. It was so bad I always forget about it. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
The 5th Thor movie. So they got a chance. They got a chance to put some bangers together if they do it right. And if you put 3 or 4 of these movies together really good, I think you start to bring back the excitement of the MCU. If you falter and you go back to your old phase 4 ways and start pushing the diversity again, or just telling stories that don't appeal to the mass fan base, then I think you might be on the path to being completely done. Like to me, this is the last chance for Marvel to regain its glory.
Yeah. Because I also think these last few movies are going to be something where, since you have such big movies coming out in phase 6 to start it off with, a lot of people are going to not see that this is just like, also like a band-aid and cover-up situation of how the last 2 phases have been, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man, a lot of people think is going to be at least somewhat pretty good. Doomsday, it's going to be kind of like the same thing at the end game. You're either going to love it or hate it, but you are going to get people that are going to watch it. After that, you're going to get what? Secret Wars. That's the next one.
I think Secret Wars is
they're going to put into 2 parts or whatever,
I heard somebody say that the other day, and I couldn't remember if that was an actual rumor or not, that they were going to try to
I don't think they will. No way. That's crazy. That's just stretching it out at that point. Like, what are you even doing?
I mean, if again, this all goes back to if they do it right, and it's the easiest thing to say and the hardest thing to do, but you could do an epic 3-part story. I mean, look at Lord of the Rings. I mean, I know the source material for that was fantastic, but
you're right. Yeah,
you could do an epic 3-part series with this crew and the real big last send off of these big star names, because utilize them while you got them. They're all getting older. They're probably not going to do movies after this stretch or whatever they've signed a contract for. So get the most out of them and then reboot the MCU, which I'm not really a fan of. I'm not in favor of that, but I feel like that's where they're going to go. I'd rather see them just continue it, because I like the fact that you can have long universes and it's cinematic. You can recast characters if you want. Who's to say you can't recast any of the main characters, or just explain that they're their variants?
I've said
same
the same thing
character
too.
Variants, bring them back with brand new actors and keep going forward. I mean, it's the easiest thing to me without having to do a reboot. Nobody wants to see a reboot.
Do you remember when there was rumored that Tom Cruise was going to be a part of the Illuminati?
Yeah, I heard that.
But
yep.
He couldn't make it because he was filming Mission Impossible 7 or whatever at the time.
But I remember Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, and then the fans, they were like, "Oh, well, I don't want anyone else beside RDJ." It's like, but
fans.
So does that mean that we just can never have Iron Man ever?
Exactly.
Unless it's RDJ. It's like, that's where I start losing people in my brain. It's like, you can't be this parasocial with people. And keep in mind, I know DC's been a lot more recasting than Marvel ever has, but I understand their point, though. You do have to somewhat tell the actor or actress, you are not above this character. We will replace you. Now, is that a good or bad thing? That's up to someone morally to decide, but you can't just be like, this character has to stop because you are so parasocially attached to this guy. That should never be on the table. ever.
Yeah, and it's different because we are existing now in a time where you have an entire universe that's been built. So you either uh, bring brand new characters in that the audience may not attach to and just see how that goes, which is what
Mhm.
they've done, or you recast good castings, characters that can bring their own feel to the character, but keep that feel. And then now you still have all the main characters that you fell in love with going forward with hopefully good actors, and you continue the story. Movies, in my opinion, should be like the comics where these characters don't really age. Yeah, the actors do, and they can pull it off for a certain amount of time, but then recast them. I think mostly you get a lot of the younger
Mhm.
voices. The younger generation seems to be really attached and not liking the recasting, or anytime you say something about a celebrity, they get all up in arms, or it's just, I believe that's where it's coming from. I think most people just like continue telling a good story, because what are you going to do? You're going to go back and reboot it, maybe add a couple different characters. Who are you going to use for bad guys? All the really big villains you're using in this right now, from the beginning of the MCU to now, you're using all the really good villains. You're going to reboot it and start back again. It's just, I hate reboots.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna reboot. I think they're gonna do kind of what when the CW had that Crisis on Infinite Earths, basically like major characters will die, and then there
Mm,
won't be a multiverse. It'll just be a singular universe, and whoever just died is just gone. So all the universes are just going to be in one
merge.
streamlined timeline. But it's
Ah,
weird
I mean,
that
that's,
they,
I can see that.
well, it's weird that that they call it the multiverse saga, because it's like, was this really a multiverse saga? We've had like what, two multiverses movies,
Yeah.
Deadpool, Wolverine, Multiverse of Madness. That's been it,
Well,
right?
that's that's been it, and I think it's because they fumbled. Well, Loki too.
You're right, yeah,
But
yeah.
they fumbled the ball so much because they didn't have a clear idea of what they wanted to do coming out of phase
They're
3.
throwing darts at a board.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, and they had kind of a cool setup with the multiverse and the Kang War that was supposed to come. Um, I would have been fine if they went that direction, because at least it was cohesive. It was working towards something.
Right.
I read an article the other day, that the somebody released the synopsis of the original synopsis of Deadpool Wolverine, and it's pretty similar to what it became, but they had to go in and change it because it was set up, or the movie was set up to set up Kang. So it had stuff about Kang in it, and it was playing off of Loki and the TVA, and it had a lot more to do with the MCU major storyline that they were building up. And then they scrapped it, and they went back and rewrote Deadpool Wolverine, to make it more of a standalone movie with bits and pieces of the MCU and Fox in it together. And then it went on what it was supposed to be. But they had an idea, and they scrapped it for some odd reason. It didn't even matter that who's the guy that got that was playing Kang, Jonathan
Jonathan Majors, yeah.
Majors. It doesn't matter he got in trouble, recast him. He hadn't done enough at that point to solidify that role in everybody's minds, that if they recast him with a really good actor, that they couldn't have figured out going forward with Kang. Especially with the Council of Kangs. You could have just been like, oh, whatever. He changed his look. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
but instead they
It did
scrapped
other
it
weirder
all.
things. They implied, it was not just heavily implied. In Ant-Man 3, it was implied that fucking Wasp's
Oh,
mom was getting DP blacked by Kang. She said
I'm
she had
pretty sure
spent
she
a lot
was.
of time with this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure
She was
that they weren't
lonely.
just working on that ship
No,
every
she
minute.
was
No, she was getting blacked.
she was getting she was getting pounded. Couldn't walk again for 2 weeks after
Good
that
lord.
shit.
Good lord, man. Came back. I've been super faithful to you ever since I was in the quantum realm. Lies. Lying bitch.
Well,
Good
here's the thing
lord.
I didn't understand about the Quantum Realm, which was an okay movie. Nothing special, not rewatchable, wasn't great, wasn't horrible. It was
Mhm.
okay. I was saying. But that was one of the first big mess ups, because if you're gonna build up to the character of Kang, and you're using him in the Loki, I thought it was used perfect in the Loki series, where he was just a variant of that guy before
Mhm.
he was actually Kang. But you actually brought out Kang in his form and had him be defeated by Ant-Man and company. And now you're supposed to say that a different version of him is coming down the line that's going to be even more threatening. Like, it was, you kind of took the wind out of the sails with that. I thought that was you should put a completely different bad guy or villain in that movie, and not had it to do with Kang, and just give a after scenes, credit scene of Kang to push the story forward. I thought that was a huge mistake, because after that, I was like, I've seen him, I've seen the character. What more is he going to do?
Right?
and he
Yeah.
couldn't beat Ant-Man, so, you know?
Yeah, that was the character's coming out party after
Yeah.
the end of Loki season 1. The end of Loki season 1, you're like, who is this guy? Let's see what he has to offer. Oh, well, he just loses to Ant-Man. And I know people and I know people generally don't get the longer form storytelling of something, but
Yeah.
first impressions matter. Not a lot of people watch that ending of Loki season 1.
Right.
That's their first impression of him. Yeah, that's just like not gonna cut it. That's not how you show the major big bad guy you want everyone
Yeah.
to be afraid of. That's just the worst possible way. Literally, the way that they showed Doom at the end of Fantastic Four is how you do that.
Yeah, that was
Mysterious
good.
guy, cloak,
Mysterious.
talking to the 5-year-old kid that you just saw grow up in the movie. Yeah,
Yep.
that's how you do that. Not, hey, the fucking character just loses to an Avenger who is not powerful at all. Yeah, that's just.
And the reason why phase 1 or phase 1 and 2, whatever it was, were leading up to, Thanos Infinity War, why that works so well is because Thanos was always this lingering name and threat that was out there. They would bring it up in movies, and just talk about him a little bit. It started with what, Avengers
Mhm.
was the first time we see him, and they just set it up very slowly. So the mystery built about who this character was, how powerful it was. They would talk about it in uh Guardians of the Galaxy, a lot. They'd bring it up, and it just built up to the fact that when this character actually showed up, then all of a sudden you knew this major threat was here and shit was about to go down. They didn't do that at all with Kang. They did some cameos and then they threw him into a movie. There was no mass people like talking, no one character saying like, "Oh, this character
Mhm.
of Kang, he's coming." Like we gotta be prepared, or blah blah blah. A sense of dread, some sense of something coming, just like Thanos had, and so everything felt flat. Now they're doing it with Doom, and they're doing it right again, like you said. Fantastic Four, great way to bring him in and introduce him
Yeah,
with
just that
just that
silence
silhouette.
when she leaves the room and she comes back, she sees some fucking random
Yep.
guy just trying to talk to her son. You're like, oh, that's pretty cool, right? Just
Yeah.
you gotta leave a little bit of mystery there. Like when you said in the first Guardians movie, when he turns the chair around and you finally see who
You get
that
to
is,
see
you're like,
him.
all right. I remember we had a
Yeah.
packed crowd that night. They're like, "Oh fuck, this guy's pretty." You have to get that intimidation off of the villain
Yeah.
because there's so much. There was nothing really to like or care about Kang, and the only way that villains kind of have that presence is like what kids call aura farming these days. There's no aura in fucking Kang when he first appeared in Loki. And there was
No.
definitely no aura in fucking Ant-Man 3. So
Nope.
I don't mind the pivot, but the pivot is based out of like them mishandling the
Oh,
character,
100
just like how they
100%.
mishandled Sam Wilson, Captain America. They mishandled a lot of
They
stuff.
they fumbled so bad that they had to admit their mistake, erase everything they're gonna do, and try to do something that's going to now be bigger to make people forget. That's what they're doing right now, and it could work. The thing about Doomsday, I think, is gonna be so fun, and I know people throw out the whole member berries, and some people don't like nostalgia. I do. All right, I'm only getting older in life, so I like seeing the things that I loved even as a young man, my 20s or whatever, coming back. So Hugh Jackman coming back and playing Wolverine was great. I was like, I'm all for this. Let's do it. Let's give me another one. So Doomsday bringing back a lot of the Fox X-Men for cameos, and supposedly I've heard that Wolverine's supposed to be in it, or he's going to be in the second one. But you're bringing in all these cameos from past movies, whether they were blockbusters or they failed, bringing them back together for this one last big ride, and I think it's great. I think play on that because it worked very well in No Way Home
Yeah,
with the nostalgia there, and it worked very well in Deadpool Wolverine. So why not do it one more time and just sink it in there? And I'm seeing all these pictures of the Fox X-Men coming in, but wearing more accurate MCU style costumes. It seems like, to me,
yeah.
this is fan service, and everybody complains that these people don't do fan service anymore. Fan service is good. It's like, hey, we know what the audience wants, and we're going to give it to you for once after giving you shit for the last 5 years. So as long as they do it right, I'm excited about it.
Right? It's also one of those things where I remember growing up with those Fox X-Men movies and I hated that black leather shit. And I was glad they swapped that shit out
Yeah.
around like when X-Men First Class came around. And seeing people go like, "Damn, why didn't Wolverine ever wore his yellow suit?" Yeah, we've always wanted that. They just didn't put
Yep.
it in there. Like stuff like that, in my opinion, I'm not saying I disagree. Stuff like that shouldn't be fan service at all. That should just be default shit you get purely based off you doing the character.
Yeah, for sure. That
It's so weird and stupid that we have to basically beg for them to do the most bare minimum shit. Wolverine should have always worn that yellow costume. That's like the unique thing about him is the costume. Also the powers, obviously.
To play devil's advocate, when the movie came out, there was still a lot of negative thoughts to superhero movies because of the failure of Batman and Robin and whatever, that they were trying to make the movie a little bit more grounded, a little bit more dark, almost like espionage instead of mutants or superhero. And so they were kind of forced to do certain things back then that maybe if they had known it was going to be what it was, they would have gone back and done it differently. But it took a while to get out of the stylistic where it was accepted. And I think once costume characters started becoming a little bit more accepted, and it started with Avengers, when you're seeing a little bit more comic-y character costumes, I think they finally was like, we're at a chance to go all in. And it takes actual fans, it takes fans like Hugh Jackman, it takes fans like Ryan Reynolds to look at these characters and be like, you know what? They need to look like this. Why has nobody ever done it? Let's do it. And all it does is takes that one time and we see Wolverine in his yellow and blue and we're like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Put them all in accurate, colorful costumes now. It can work.
Yeah, and it's not even just about comic accuracy. It's like, if you're adapting this character, why can't the character, even if, because it's crazy, they adapt characters out of different runs that don't have the same suits, and those don't even look the same, and they don't even use those. So I don't know what is their standard for what these characters should look like. They're like, they have to look good, but it's like, people like the goofiness of that. That's the charm of it. I love the charm of them looking goofy, because even they'll acknowledge it. Didn't in the MCU, in Black Widow, fucking Yelena's character acknowledged they kind of do that thing where they stand down when they land. Yeah, it's
I think
it's
so.
goofy to notice that stuff,
Yeah.
But it's like when you start putting in too much corporate into it and you start taking out the charm, that's when you start, losing a lot of that, like, oh, this kind of stuff made me feel good when they had these moments. Like, everyone loves that circle moment from the first Avengers movie when they were all falling together fighting. Yeah, people say, I know I have a friend who says that just looks stupid and goofy. Well, yeah, you're not a comic book guy. So but it's not that for what I say, it's not for people like that. That's for people like me and you who see that stuff in books and like, that looks awesome. I love that scene. It's awesome to get that stuff.
I think they underestimated the fans of comics and how much they would come out and watch those movies if they were just presented like they are now. But back then, I understand the hesitancy of that, and be like, what's cool? They made Batman a black costume, took him out of his blue and gray and made it a black costume because they needed it to be edgier or whatever. They're looking at that. They're like, we need to do that. All these characters, let's make them look more of like a team. We'll give them jumpsuits and we'll make it black because that's edgy, that's dark. People will take that serious where they can't take anything else. And like I said, I will forgive them from that because of the time that they were in, But, you can still look back on those movies and still, like, they have their charm. Even the black costumes, which I don't like, it still kind of had their charm. And when they start breaking out of it, like X-Men 3, where they kind of really stopped wearing the costumes, or maybe it was, oh no, I take that back. Maybe they were still wearing the black costumes early on in that, but they started pulling Wolverine out, making him wear regular clothes. A lot of the X-Men will wear regular clothes throughout most of the movie.
It was around First Class they started using the classic
the
gold,
blue and you're
gold,
right. Yep.
So moving on from Marvel, DC. So DC hasn't released a lot of stuff for their new cinematic universe. So Creature Commandos, did you end up watching that?
I haven't watched it yet. I've heard a couple people say it was pretty decent. I haven't got a chance to check it out myself.
Okay. Superman.
Yeah, I saw that. Liked it on the very first time I saw it, because I think there's just something special about Superman movies. Going back to the first Superman movie, there's just something about that character being on screen, the music, the symbol, the colors. It doesn't matter if it's Snyder version where it's a little bit more contrasted and pale, or if it was the brighter James Gunn version. There's just something about seeing the character on screen. So the first time I go see it, I liked it. I was excited. I'm just like, oh, I love Superman. It was one of my favorite characters. And it was just a fun, not a lot of plot, a lot of action, and just fun shit throughout the movie. Then I watched it a second time, and to me, it didn't hold up the second time because of everything I just said. There wasn't a lot of plot to it. It was a lot of action. It was just a fun movie. And to me, it doesn't really set anything up. So did I like it? Yes. Am I excited for the next one? I think so, but it wasn't as good as it could have been, I think, if they
That was
went
the
with a
same
slightly
thing.
different story.
That was my same sentiment too. It's like when I watched it, I was like, you know what? There is a lot to like here as far as like what he was trying to do. But then the problems for me just knocked it way down. And for characters like Superman and Batman, because I love them so much. I have comic books. I've watched almost all their movies, whether it be
Yeah.
live action or animated for both TV shows and movies. I kind of hold them to a different standard than I do other characters, though.
I
And
understand that, yeah.
the only other character I would have that in there is like Spider-Man, Wolverine, characters like Thor. I really like a lot. So like when those characters are on screen, in my mind, since I hold them to this standard that I have, it's one of those things where I wanted to love the Superman movie,
Mhm.
but I ended up just kind of going like, I liked it
Right.
on a sense of like, I don't really give movie ratings anymore like that. But if I were to rate it, I would put it on a scale of like 6 out of 10. That's because my issues would knock it down to a 6.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
And it's not a bad movie, but
No, no,
like
no, no.
when you hear James Gunn give his reasons why he changed Jor-El, and I get it, Jor-El's not always been like that, but his reasoning behind it didn't feel like it was actually anything worthwhile. It was more like I just kind of wanted to do something different, and it's like that's not a real reason of changing it. Then
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that. I've heard some people counter argue that and just say that they wanted to pull in the human aspect of it, so they wanted to put more of an emphasis on Ma and Pa Kent, and they do that by kind of demonizing, Jor-El and whatever her name is, in the process, and just giving more of that emphasis. Like he learned his humanity from Ma and Pa Kent. He learned how to be a hero from them, all these things. And so somebody explained that, and I was like, okay, I could see that. I didn't like it because it's such a mythos, in the Superman, or it's such a main thing in the Superman mythos that that's a big change. Now that I've had some time to digest it, I'm just like, okay, I think I can handle it,
Yeah, it's one of those I could go either or on. I would
Yeah.
just not like to hear the person that made the decision only really doing it because he just kind of wanted to make his movie stand out to the other ones. And
Yeah.
and that's the same shit Zack Snyder would do. Zack Snyder
Right.
would do the same things. It's like,
Yep.
what are we doing here? You know?
I mean, it's everyone's gonna take a little bit of liberty with these movies, and I understand
Right,
that.
yeah.
And some stuff we're gonna love, some stuff we're gonna hate. One thing that I ended up really liking that I thought I was going to hate was David Cornsweet. I thought he did a really good job as Superman, and
He
he
did a
was a
good job.
clumsy Clark Kent. I thought he did a good job representing both those characters. No, I still feel like he's kind of limited on his acting, but to play Superman, you don't have to be so super emotional. You can kind of stay in a little bit of a box for how that character just reacts to stuff. And I thought he did a really good job. So that was pleasant to see.
And it's crazy because it's one of those where you look at those behind the scenes videos they've uploaded to like I think DC's YouTube channel. David Cornsweet is trying to be Superman that people want. James Gunn is kind of like not letting that happen for whatever reason. It's one of those because usually you can never tell if it's the director or the writer or the producer.
Yeah.
In this specific scenario, it's like I don't know what James Gunn is actually trying to think about when it comes to some of this stuff.
Well,
like,
one of the go ahead.
No, you're fine. No,
I was just gonna say one of the things I didn't like based on that was some of the stuff that James Gunn pulled out about the character, and I didn't like that they underpowered Superman. Now I get it. I've heard other people argue this fact that a overpowered Superman is not that interesting and hard to tell a story with. I get it. Be creative, figure it out. You don't always have to depower this character so that he can face adversity and struggle, because I'm looking at him as Superman, the most powerful character in the DC universe, not as powerful as the rest of the powered beings in the movie. And I get it. He was beat up. He only got healed a little bit by the sun, so he was just slightly underpowered. But when I think of Superman, I want to see him be the alpha
powerful.
male.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I don't agree with people on. I don't think you have to depower Superman in order to cuck him essentially to make the movie be essentially what someone would averagely think. Because there's a lot of Superman animated movies where he's perfectly powered and it's fine, right? And also Superman and Lois, he's pretty strong in that one. it works out just well. So that, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but that notion that he
Mm.
has to be depowered in order for a movie, that just doesn't fly. Like, that doesn't
Yeah,
make
I don't like
any
it either.
sense.
And I understand
And
when
he was,
people
that was one problem I had too. He was too weak
yeah.
in the movie. Just, and
Well,
I knew James Gunn was
doesn't
going to do it
he
because James
doesn't
Gunn
win a
already said
single
he was.
fight.
Yeah, you're
James
right.
Gunn didn't have him win a single fight in that movie. When you watch it, he loses every fight he was in. Now, here's the thing they really messed up on is I don't care if you're going to start that movie the way you started, where Superman's injured, he lost his first battle. That's
Mhm.
fine. Give me a flashback to his very first battle, showing him be badass before you go in and show him just get the shit kicked out of him by the hammer of
Mhm.
whatever. You know, the first time you see Superman in action, he loses. And that was disappointing. Like, again, like the movie, love seeing the character. But the first time I see Superman into action, I want to see him be Superman, not get his ass kicked. And then that's the trend for the rest of the movie. He never beats a single character in that movie.
Right.
Crypto does, or Crypto saves him.
I
The
hated the
lowest,
dog.
yeah, and I wasn't a big fan of the dog either. Some people liked him. That's fine. I know James Gunn loves animals and stuff. I've never liked Crypto in the comics, so I wasn't excited that he was in the movie. So, and they didn't do anything for me to add to the movie.
Yeah, I think the biggest things that I knocked the movie for is him being, and I knew James Gunn was going to do it, like I said previously, because he
Yeah.
already said he was. He already said, I'm not going to have a Superman that's as powerful as people
Yep.
kind of know him to be, which is like, then at that point, people are going to be like, well, if because then people will use a counter argument of like, if he's that powerful, why can't he just beat them? Well, that's what happens when you underpower characters like that. Like, no one would want Batman. Like,
Yeah.
Batman's thing is, his biggest thing is not only just his strength as a human, his brain.
Yeah.
Would you want a Batman movie where he's retarded? Because by that logic, then why can't we just make Batman an 80 IQ idiot then? Because average people aren't smart enough to understand jack shit. It's like, no, why do we
Yeah.
have to dumb down our shit because the average person is just a fucking moron? I hate that. I really dislike
Yeah.
that. We have to lower our own standards because the average person is so beyond retarded these days. They can't just understand that, yeah, Superman's powerful because this is a comic book world. God forbid, is a baby that fell out of the sky, essentially. This doesn't make sense logically already.
Yeah, and they fumbled it every time they had a chance for him to do something really cool. Like, he's fighting that giant kaiju, and he's having a hard time holding its foot up, and he's having a hard time going toe-to-toe with it. And I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
that's the time to show Superman's strength, you know, and something that size that he's fighting. That's when you really show that he can pick this thing up, or that he can withstand a blast and return it, because he's the most powerful being in the universe, you know. And so it's just, I mean, think about it in reality. If you were a citizen of Metropolis, and yeah, you got Superman there, but it seems like Superman does a okay job of protecting you in all these fights, because he's constantly getting beat, constantly getting bailed out by like the Justice Gang. You know, to me, he's like a C-level character in his own, or C-level power in his own movie.
That's what it felt like too. Also, the
Yeah.
CGI was pretty bad. Like,
Some CGI was bad.
In that
Yeah.
pocket dimension was very bad with it was like with Metamorpho and like that baby and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
I did like Lois Lane. I did like oh my god, I forgot her name. Rachel Brosnahan, is that her name is?
Yeah, I can never remember her name either. But yeah, she did a good job.
Bad titties. Good
Hey,
lord.
Dude, I had no idea her titties were that big until that one picture of the red carpet came out.
Oh yeah,
and she's wearing that black dress, and I was like, holy shit, they did her dirty and
then
Superman.
you just kind of find out she's for the streets, because apparently she was like making out with
shit.
David Cornsweat.
Oh, and
like,
yeah.
My god. Oh god. Women's morals are always for sale. We've known that for years.
Well, they need to show off that actors or actresses tits more in the next one. I'm not saying they have to be gratuitous because it's Lois Lane, but a little bit tighter stuff, because all the clothes she wore in that movie were like these baggy, you know, man-like clothes that she wore. Like, make her a little bit more elegant. Like, I always liked how Jim Lee depicted Lois Lane when he started drawing comics or drawing in the DC universe. Like, she was very slick dress, you know, you have a suit, whatever, but she had like an elegance and a sexiness to her. This Lois Lane was like a tomboy, you know, kind of character. Didn't really wear a lot of makeup, wasn't really good looking on the eyes as far as how she presented herself. And maybe they did that on purpose. I don't know, but hopefully they changed that, because you're missing an opportunity, James.
Yeah, and this was DC, and this was supposed to be DC's big coming out party for the first movie in a second attempt at a cinematic universe. And I think, I don't know, for me personally, if they stuck the landing on their first attempt, because even box office wise, like box office wise, it was supposed to be a lot. I must say exactly $1 billion, but given how much they spent on it, the company for sure wanted $1 billion,
See,
but
now here's
they
the
didn't get
thing.
that.
I think at some point, because of just the way the world is, the way the economy is, they got to start pulling back a little bit on what these movies expect. Now, I get
Mhm.
the amount of stuff you're putting into the movie, but I heard that DC was fine making a 500 million. If they made 500 million, they considered it a big success and they were happy. So
Mhm.
apparently, the not making a billion, and it seems like it didn't make that much of an actual profit. They were happy, at least for the first time around, that they could get everything paid for and come out maybe just a little bit ahead.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't think we should expect $1 billion movies anymore. Maybe
Yeah,
one, maybe
my
Doomsday,
yeah,
maybe
because
one. That's
my thing is the turn that comes from it. Because I remember I was reading like these media outlets articles sometimes because I have to get perspectives for the shows that we do,
yeah,
and they're saying things like, well, if this movie doesn't make $1 billion, then what does that say about the current landscape of like DC and super movies? And then 5 months later, after the movie's box office totals, they're like, you know what, this wasn't actually that bad. And it's like you weren't the same person that wrote if it didn't hit this number, it was kind of a metrically a failure. It's like, and I get now with
yeah.
streaming, it's different with VODs and all that stuff,
Well, I
but
was just gonna say, like, that's a great point when it comes to streaming because they are making money off of these companies bidding for them to have the rights to stream
yeah, yeah.
the movies. And I don't know if DC is as much because it's a Warner Brother thing. So it was HBO. Now it's probably going to be Netflix, but there's probably still some kind of secondary money involved in that aspect too. That's going to go to their bottom line that you don't see from ticket sales. So because of streaming has come along, it might have kind of changed in the game as far as the numbers that we look at. And we're like, oh, this movie sucked because it took 300 million to make it. Needed 300 million for advertising. It only made 500 million, so it was a hell of a failure. Maybe not, the way they look at it. So
Oh, so after Superman, did you end up seeing Peacemaker season 2? Because I didn't. I only saw
no,
season
I,
1.
I never saw season one. It was never John Cena is okay in some roles, but I'm never a huge fan of his, so it didn't really appeal to me. I wasn't a big fan of his character in the second um Suicide Squad movie, so I never saw it. And
Okay.
I have no idea what happened in it.
What about yeah, because after that, yeah, they've only released like 3 things. Isn't that
Yeah, that's it
crazy?
because they're
Yeah.
gearing up for Supergirl now.
Yeah, so we're gonna get Supergirl, Clayface, movies, and Lanterns is the other show we're gonna get.
Oh,
Are you
that's right. I
excited?
forgot Lanterns coming out.
You're interested in Supergirl?
Yeah, actually, I am. Actually, I am. It looks like a fun movie. Again, I kind of get the same feeling of the Superman movie. Now, I
Mhm,
was really critical coming up to Superman, but after I saw it, I
mhm,
kind of lightened up. I was like, oh, it's a fine movie. Supergirl scene is kind of the same thing because I'm telling you, with me at least, there's something about that costume and that S, regardless if it was Superman or Supergirl. There was something about or Superboy in the '90s. There was something about that costume that I just love seeing on screen. The preview looked like it's just another just fun action packed movie, and you're gonna have Lobo in it, and I guess he's gonna have a significant role and not just a quick cameo. So
mhm.
uh give me so here's what I'm looking for, MSK, as I get older. I just want fun movies, you know and that's
I feel it.
I just want a fun movie that I can go for a couple hours, and laugh and have a good time and then go back to my life. So if Supergirl is going to be that, then I think it'll be happy. And if it's continuing to set up the next movie, which I think is supposed to be like a super family movie or something
Mhm.
that James Gunn was talking about, so not necessarily a sequel to Superman, but it's going to bring in different the Superman family story. I think I'm down. I think I'll be all right.
Okay. After that, so comic book wise, are you reading any current runs of any characters besides Spawn? I know you guys are currently reading and reviewing
Yeah.
Spawn every week.
Yeah,
So
we were doing the Spawn there, and that's kind of changed a little bit, but we were doing the Spawn every week there for a while. I'm reading the New Darkness right now, which is basically a reboot of the '90s story, basically tweaked a little bit, which is it's okay. Um, I'm behind, but I've been reading Battle Beast, which is a fun book. It's just
yeah,
again,
yeah, it's
yeah,
Invincible. Yep,
just
yeah,
just a fun, violent fighting book, and sometimes you just need something that's just carnal candy.
yeah,
Um, So, but I haven't been reading. Well, I was Hush. I've been reading, but very disappointed in.
yeah. I
But
remember you
that's
did. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and then, that's coming out now erratically, but when it does come out, pick it up and continue the story, so I definitely am reading that, but there's nothing major right now in comics in either DC or Marvel that I'm
The Absolute
striving to go
Universe
out.
didn't interest you at all?
I started reading Absolute Batman. I thought I liked that it was a fresh, different take on the character, because we had seen the same, kind of character for so long, but I fell out of it. It was all right as a novelty that started out, and then I'm so far behind in it because I just kind of stopped reading it, and then I started seeing like I wasn't a big fan of the way they were doing some of the characters. I didn't mind Bane so much, but like I'm looking at the Joker and how they're doing it's just I don't know. So yeah, I mean, this honestly, man, besides Spawn in the Darkness, I'm not really reading that much mainstream stuff again, and which is
Okay.
disappointing because I was pretty excited over the last 2 years of certain projects that were coming out, but they all
Yeah.
well, not all of them. Some of them fell flat, and that's where I am right now. So there's nothing on the horizon right now that I'm too excited about that I'm not really reading, which is not
Because I never
much.
got a chance to ask you this, because you do the Spawn reviews. Have you read every single issue of the mainline Spawn books from issue 1 all the way to where they are right now, or you just only been
No,
taking breaks every once in a while?
I actually stopped reading Spawn right after 100, because Greg Capullo was leaving the book, and they're bringing in a new artist, and also at the same time, I was getting a little bit older. I was starting to do other things, and it was kind of pulling me away from comics. So I thought it was a good breaking off point. And then I didn't read Spawn for like 200 issues. And it was when 300 came around that I got swept up in the excitement of Spawn 300 and that
Mhm.
Greg Capullo was coming back and drawing, this 300 and 301 and all this kind of stuff. And that was what kind of brought me back into Spawn. And then I really fell in love with it again at around Spawn 350 when Brett took over the main book, Brett Booth. And I enjoyed that story up to now. Now, that being said, the current story of Spawn is faltering for me over the last about 6 issues. I feel like just they're going in a circle. I feel like they don't really know exactly what they wanna do with the story, and they're kind of just, holding it together issue to issue, where there's things that don't make sense. The story is moving incredibly slowly. There
Mhm.
was one scene in the latest Spawn where it took like 6 issues to get through that scene, and I have no idea why it took that long. At least it felt like 6 issues, and I'm just like, "Why are we still in this scene, fighting this giant
I
kaiju?" And it's like, yeah.
Do you think they're just writing for the trades? That might be what they're doing it for. They're just writing for the trades
Oh,
at this
that could
point.
be. That could be. I know Todd's trying to get to 400, so they might just be, treading in place to try to get to 400. But it really does because the story was so good. The story was so good from Spawn 350 to about Spawn 60. So about almost a year run. It was like a
Yeah, it's
really fun,
mm,
intriguing story. And then Todd comes back on writing, which I like Todd's writing, but it seems like it just fell off a cliff. Like it seemed like it had a purpose, and now there's plot hole after plot hole, and we're like, well, wait, 3 issues ago this was happening. What happened to this? Because I feel like we're going into a brand new story arc, and we haven't even tied up all these things. So I'm hoping they do a good job of bringing it back together, maybe around 400. But right now, it's kind of erratic. I'm still reading it, but it's erratic.
and that's another reason why a lot of people just kind of stop reading comic book runs for characters that they're, hundreds and hundreds of issues deep, is because at some point that happens. It, like I always said, comics end up becoming like TV. You'll be in a TV show, you'll be on like episode 12, because TV shows used to be like 20 episodes for a season,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, man, hey, can we pick up the pace here? Like, what are we doing? And then, guys, with comics is worse is because these things come out monthly. This is one book you get a month, or
Yeah.
sometimes it's 2 books a month. Even sometimes that's not enough. You know?
I think with books like Spawn, because you have Todd involved, the way that Todd writes is not like unique to comic book writing because he's not a guy that I don't think plans too far ahead of what he wants to do. So you're not building to anything right now. Where the writer before him that was writing Spawn, McConville, I can't remember his first name, but something McConville, when he wrote, he was building to something. Every issue built to something. You could feel there was good pacing and good flow to it. And that's not the same with Todd writing right now. So I feel like Todd is kind of figuring is like, what do I do? trying to figure out where he wants to go with the storyline. That's what it feels like. And to do that, he's just slowing it way down, where we're having one issue be like an entire scene almost, or maybe 2 or 3 scenes max. And you don't feel like you accomplished anything at the end of the book. And you're like, I'm gonna wait another month to read it and feel like I haven't accomplished anything in the storyline. And that's what's bogging me and the rest of us down that we're doing the Spawn review.
So, also, do you have any upcoming comic books you're going to be doing for your comic book company, Superior Press? I know you put out Reaper Destroyer.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know you did a second chance campaign for a second printing of it with a different cover. How did that one go?
It went pretty decent. I mean, we got almost all the backers, or a good majority of the backers were new backers, so that was nice. But that's going pretty good. We're gearing 2026 is going to be pretty big for Superior Press, which is my company out there. If you guys don't know, we're going to be launching Reaper Destroyer 2 probably sometime in May. I've got another book on the horizon based in my universe that I'm having written by Kayla Thornton. If you guys know, she was a co-host on one of my shows not too long ago. We'll be bringing her back again on the Ronin Joe channel, and drawn by Oliver Saavedra. That is it's a phenomenal looking book. I can't wait to actually get that crowdfunded. That'll probably be crowdfunding probably at the end of summer. And then I've got a preview book of Reaper Destroyer 2 that I'm actually going to launch, I think, next month, which is just going to be the first 10 pages of the book, penciled with full script. Just a very kind of a collector's item thing that I'm going to actually try to run through my website and just see how sales can go through the website instead of like a crowdfunding service. So got a lot of things going on, possibly a mystery project too. I'm just waiting for some things to fall in place before I announce that. And then Superior Press is also producing its very first creator-owned comic, which most of the books in Superior Press are my creation, and this is the first time somebody's coming from the outside and we were just producing their book for them. And that's a book called Mondor's Rising by the creator Zach Morris. I have no idea how to pronounce. I gotta ask how to pronounce his last name. He's a co-host of mine too on one of my shows, but that's gonna be coming down the line this year. So lots of things from Superior Press. I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun year.
Hiring Kayla? What did I tell you about hiring women, dude?
I know. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
What happened to her? I haven't seen her in a hot minute.
Just went through just really busy stuff over the last year or so, and she's kind of back into the point where she's ready to stream again. So I've seen her stream on a couple random shows here or there, but we're going to start bringing her back on my channel and getting her back into the rotation of shows that we do pretty shortly here.
Okay, how do you feel about the current landscape for, like, let's say the indie crowd scene as far as like getting backers for books, because like, a lot of people are like, there's not enough backers anymore to go around. Things are kind of in a downward spiral. Do you really think that's true, or you think there's a way?
I do think that that is true to a point for sure. I think there's a lot of things that have affected crowdfunding over the last year or couple years.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the biggest thing probably being the economy. There's also people that get tired of waiting a long time for books, but I also don't think there's people understand exactly what crowdfunding is. And those are the people that kind of get upset about the late books. Now, granted, there are some books out there that are just wrongfully late, and then there's other stuff where it takes a long time to make comics. But I think that took a hit to the industry a little bit, if you want to call it that. And I do think crowdfunding is down. I think it's probably going to be down for a little bit. And hopefully it'll come back up at some point. But you look across the board, a lot of people's crowdfunders are down. I see people that were making $80,000 to $100,000 now making 60 or 50. So to me, it's still something I'm going to do and enjoy doing. But I've lowered my expectations of what I think a crowdfunding can make. Reaper Destroyer 1 made almost $76,000. And I'm not putting an expectation on Reaper Destroyer this time around because the market right now is so different than it was when I launched that book in 2022 that who knows right now. So that's why I'm trying to expand what we're doing in Superior Press. So it's not just one book that you're waiting for. I would like to put out 2 or 3 books a year so that every year you are getting 2 or 3 books or maybe 4 books when I get there from Superior Press. So you're not just always waiting for that one book, but you can get 4 books that are in the same universe, or maybe some that connect to each other or whatever, but it's a lot more to read per year. And that's starting this year with some of the projects that I'm launching that hopefully next year will be the start of multiple books coming per year from my company.
Yeah, because it keeps the flow of interest in. Because
Yeah.
like waiting basically a year for something like that is because it's not an anime. You know, anime is moving to like that seasonal format where they're doing like one
Yeah,
long season a year, then episodes weekly. That's because it's going to keep people's interest a
exactly.
lot
Yeah.
more intact. But with comic books, it's like releasing a 24-page book every year. You're playing Russian roulette if you think that's going to keep people interested. People move on so fast because there's just so much entertainment now
Yeah.
compared to what we used to have even just 3 years ago. Like I said before, markets change too. People got to understand, like people get burnt on
Hmm.
backing books. Then when people do get books they backed, even on time, they don't like them that much. Then they go, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. There's a lot of different factors to contribute to all that stuff too, actually. So
Yeah.
hopefully it bounces
It's
back. Hopefully.
yeah, and I think it will. Or if it doesn't, I think it's just going to be adjusted. Much like anything, if you're in it, there's going to be ebbs and flows of
Mhm.
business. And sometimes you have to adjust to what that business is. It's expectations. Where before I'm like, oh, I think I can make this much doing this per year. Well, no, maybe I will probably only make this much. Now I got to counter that with doing more things so that I can try to average it out, you know? So I think it's just how you play the game and what your determination is to do. I think if you got a good plan in place, I think you'll be fine, you know? So,
All
yeah, I
right.
think you'll be all right. We'll see. We'll
Last
see.
last few things I'll ask you, man. First thing is, do you have anything planned coming up that you would like to let the audience know about?
Just like I said, the Reaper Destroyer preview book will be coming out. I'm probably going to somewhere late March. I haven't picked an exact date, but I'm going to be running that through my my company, my website, superiorpresscomics.com. That you guys can go check out, but that's going to be exclusive to that website because I want to see how selling something right from my website will be different than doing like a crowdfunding like Indiegogo or a Kickstarter or anything like that, and just see if I can drum some business up there. Because if that's the case, I might start just doing books, all my books right from my site mainly, and just kind of avoid the crowdfunding thing. It's still basically going to be like crowdfunding, but just something I control more and
Right. Yeah. You could
don't
drive
have to pay
traffic.
giant fees to, you know, a big service for having my
Yeah.
my campaign on there.
Because it's a lot more easier, essentially, if you do put in the work, driving all that traffic to your website. Well, then they just become customers on your website. They get used to that. They can just buy
Exactly.
books and merch,
Yeah, I would say
from your
plus on my
website.
website, we have merch, we original art, you know, back order or back bin, if that's what you want to say, comic books. There's a lot more stuff on on the site to do besides just going there. So you go there, you pick up a book, maybe you see a t-shirt you like, you know, you add that to the cart, you know. So we'll see. That's gonna be my first test, but that's gonna be sometime late March. But it's gonna be the Reaper Destroyer issue 2 preview book. It's going to be a black and white cover, a variant cover, and then the inside is going to be probably 24 pages altogether, 15 pages of straight pencil story, the original rough pencils and script, and then a bunch of extras after that. And it's going to be, I think, just $20 is what we're going to be doing.
And then the last thing I'll ask you is, do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular and anything else you want to say before we head out?
I'll give a shout out to my co-host Sean Arentz and just tell everybody, if you guys haven't yet, check out his book Type 1 Back It. He is waiting for the rest of the colors to come in right now, and the book is looking fantastic. So they're going off after all the tweaks and all that stuff that they need to do, and then hopefully start fulfilling it in the next few months. But that looks really good. So shout out to him. Sean, shout out to Type 1. Go check out the Ronin Joe channel on YouTube. I stream multiple times a week talking stuff like this, comic book, pop culture content, maybe some other stuff as well. And yeah, just shout out to the chat. Shout out to everybody who's watching us live and anybody's watching us on the replay.
Yeah, man. It's been a good time having you back on the show again, even though it's only for like a short amount of time.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for working within my schedule. I got such a busy schedule now, and
Oh, I know. Yeah.
you know, so it's like when people ask me out, I'm like, we got to fit it here. If we can do this, I can do it. But but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate you working
That's what I
with
tell
me.
my wife. If you can fit it here, then
If
I
you
can
can
fit
fit it, we can do
it.
it.
But she always just wants black guys, so it's all good.
Oh, shit. All right.
You know.
There we go.
But yeah, man, we've known each other for a long time at this point. It's fucking crazy.
It's been a while. I was
Yeah.
just actually talking to Sean about how long we've been even doing the streaming. We've been doing the streaming for 6 years, and
Shit.
that went by like that. It was crazy, you know. So, and I've met so many people within that 6 year span, including yourself. And it's just I think about like, geez, it's been like 4 or 5 years. I've known some people now.
It makes you want to keep doing it too, because
I love
I've
it.
had my
Love it.
restarts, but now I'm almost gonna hit 500 on this show. And I'm like, you know what?
Nice.
I'm gonna just keep going until I hit it. I'm gonna get that 1,000 number if it kills me, even with all my
Yeah.
restarts. I'm basically Marvel and DC. I'm
Just
messed up
rebooting after
continuities,
reboot.
retcons, reboots, but we're gonna get it right at some point, you know?
I like it. I like it.
But yeah, man, it was great having you on for another appearance. Thank you guys for coming by and checking out this episode of the MSK show, and we will see